In the 1160s, Chinggis Khan was born in Delüün, in the heart of Mongolia. He grew up in an environment full of competitors for power. From a young age, he was recognized for his bravery and leadership skills and quickly rose through the leadership ranks of his local tribe. Also, by using his military strategies, Chinggis Khan was able to subjugate different tribes and create the Mongol Empire. He gradually became one of the greatest leaders in history, and his conquests spread from regions such as China and Russia to the Middle East and Europe. However, after some time, Chinggis Khan died of a fatal disease in 1227 AD and left this vast empire to his children. After the death of Chinggis Khan, the Mongol Empire continued under the rule of his children and descendants. This great empire, over time, as it reached the height of its power, was challenged by both internal and external forces. Until its last days, the all-encompassing influence of the Mongol Empire continued on the world and became one of the largest empires in history. After Chinggis Khan's death, his children and descendants succeeded him in power, but over the years, introversions, family feuds, and civil wars plagued the empire. For example, after the death of Chinggis Khan, his daughter, Hulagu Khan, conquered the Persian Empire with many investments from her own lands in South Asia. This process led to the establishment of the patriarchal government and placed Iran under its rule. But these divisions and internal problems gradually weakened the Mongol Empire, and finally, the empire finally split and collapsed in the 14th century AD. After the decline of the Mongol Empire, different parts of this empire were ruled by separate states and dynasties. As a result of these divisions and transformations, different cultures, languages, and political systems developed in the regions formerly ruled by the Mongol Empire. Also, the influence of the Mongol Empire on the historical world was huge. Through trade, cultural exchange, and the spread of science and technology, this empire contributed to the development of various societies around the world. The effects of the Mongol Empire can be seen in different societies and cultures to this day, and it is known as one of the most important historical periods. After the decline of the Mongol Empire, many new leaders and emperors tried to preserve the legacy of this great empire. Some of them were somewhat successful in these efforts and built new empires that were influenced by Mongol culture and politics. For example, Timur Lenk, a member of the Timurid dynasty, established a vast territory in Central Asia after the decline of the Mongol Empire, which soon became one of the largest empires in the world. In his wars and conquests, he used Mongolian military strategies and preserved some Mongolian cultural and artistic features. Also, the Mughal Empire of India, founded by Babur Shah, was also a direct result of the decline of the Mughal Empire. With the arrival of the Mongols in India and the establishment of the Mongol dynasty, this empire became one of the largest empires in India, which was governed on the cultural and administrative foundations of the Mongols until the 19th century. These empires and the successors of the Mongol Empire influenced the history of the world in different ways and played an important role in the formation of the Islamic world and the Mongol world. As the process of disintegration of the Mongol Empire continued, many regions formerly under Mongol rule gained independence and new states were formed. This process occurred especially in Central Asia, India, Iran, and other parts of Asia. In India, local governments such as the Maratha, Sikh, and Myanmar governments seized the opportunity to assert their independence. In Iran, local dynasties such as the Safavids and the Qayyars took power and took over Iran. In addition, the cultural and social influences of the Mongol Empire remained in these areas. For example, the Chagatai language, which was the mother tongue of Chinggis Khan, is still spoken in some parts of Central Asia and Russia, and the influence of Mongolian art and architecture can still be seen in some buildings and works of art. Therefore, the Mongol Empire can be considered as one of the most important and influential historical eras in the world, whose effects on the world and various societies can be seen to this day. After all these changes and divisions due to the decline of the Mongol Empire, different regions of the world were directly or indirectly affected by this empire. Regions such as Central Asia and Iran were still under the cultural and political influence of this empire due to the existence of generations of Mongolian population or related ethnic groups. With the end of the Mongol Empire, the empty place of this great empire was filled by other states and empires, but the cultural, social, and political effects of this empire can still be seen until now. But with the passage of time, these effects also decrease and change their shape against other changes that occur in the world. Hence, the Mongol Empire is more than a point in world history. It shows how a powerful empire can influence many parts of the world, but it also shows that no empire is permanent and everything is changing. After the division of the Mongol Empire, new empires emerged in different regions, each of which had a wide influence on the history and culture of that region. But this process of separation and analysis of the Mongol Empire was not only limited to the historical events that happened at that time, but its effects can be seen on different societies and cultures to this day. On the other hand, with the cultural and administrative influences of the Mongol Empire, many social systems and structures were changed in the world of Central Asia and other regions. In addition, trade and cultural exchanges between different regions also increased. For this reason, the effects of the Mongol Empire are considered as one of the most important eras in world history, which still have a significant impact on the world. This empire, with its expansion and development, transferred trade, science, culture, and civilization to remote parts of the world, and has an important place in human history. With the division of the Mongol Empire, different regions of Asia and Europe saw the formation of new states and empires, each of which was influenced by the Mongolian culture and civilization. In Central Asia, numerous Khanate-like states were established that date back to the Mongol Empire and show the influence of Mongol culture and politics in the region. In Europe, the commercial and cultural influences of the Mongol Empire are still visible. The Mongol superpowers trade with Eastern Europe, especially trade through the Silk Road, helped expand trade and culture in the region. Mongolian cultural effects can also be seen in the art, science, and philosophy of Europeans. However, the disintegration of the Mongol Empire also led to internal and external conflicts and strife in these regions. However, the disintegration of the Mongol Empire also led to internal and external conflicts and strife in these regions. Therefore, the disintegration of the Mongol Empire had far-reaching effects on the historical world that are still ongoing and have brought many opportunities and challenges to different societies and cultures. With the disintegration of the Mongol Empire, the power and influence of this empire in the world decreased significantly. The regions that were under the rule of the Mongols were ruled by new governments and empires, each of which brought its own role and influence in the history and culture of different regions. But the presence of Mongolian culture and politics can still be recognized in many societies and cultures. The effects of the Mongol Empire are still visible in architecture, art, literature, and commerce, especially in areas such as Central Asia. However, the decline of the Mongol Empire is still recognized as an important stage in world history that had profound effects on the Islamic world and other regions. The empire is known as one of the largest and most powerful empires in history, whose effects and cultural and political relations are still influential. With the separation of the Mongol Empire, the kind of unity and integration that this empire had created over vast areas of the world ended. But this separation still had wide-ranging effects on the world. The areas that were previously under Mongol rule were newly acquired by various states and empires, each of which somehow absorbed the influence of Mongol culture and politics. On the other hand, the disintegration of the Mongol Empire continues to highlight its consequences in the world. However, the effects of the Mongol Empire in culture, trade, and politics are still evident and are recognized as one of the most important and influential periods in world history. The effects of the Mongol Empire are still visible in the world today, and this historical period is still recognized as one of the most important and influential periods in human history. After the separation of the Mongol Empire, different regions of the world came under new orders and governments. But with the passage of time, local civilizations and cultural and social innovations of these regions were also influenced by Mongolian culture and politics. For example, in India, the Mughal state of India was established, which showed well the cultural and political influence of the Mongols in the region, especially the rule of Akbar Shah. This period is known as the Golden Age of India, which became one of the most important cultural periods in the history of this region with the development of art, architecture, and literature. Also, in Central Asia, the influence of the Mongol Empire can still be seen. The effects of Mongolian culture and architecture can still be seen in the buildings and artworks of this region, especially in countries such as Afghanistan and Uzbekistan. Mongol Empire, different regions of the world came under new orders and governments. But this separation not only led to the formation of new states and empires, but also caused culture, art, and politics to evolve in different regions in new ways. In Central Asia, countries such as Afghanistan, Uzbekistan, and Tajikistan continue to show Mongolian cultural and architectural influences. Magnificent buildings and Mongolian artworks are still part of the cultural scene of these regions and serve as reminders of the rise and fall of the Mongol Empire. In India, the effects of Mughal rule, such as art, literature, and Mughal architecture, can still be seen in some cities and regions. These effects are still a part of the cultural and historical identity of this country and give us a testimony of the influence of Mongolian culture on the art and culture of India. Mongol Empire, the world entered a new process of changes and transformations. Areas formerly under Mongol rule underwent a process of analysis whose effects still show us in different societies and cultures. In Central Asia, new states and territories were formed, each of which had its own role and influence in the history and culture of this region. Also, Mongolian cultural and political influences are still visible in the region, including in architecture, art, and local culture. In India, the Mughal state of India was established and ushered in a golden age of cultural and economic development. Mughal art, literature, and architecture flourished during this period, and it is still considered one of the most significant periods in Indian history. Also, the effects of the Mongol Empire can be seen in Europe. These influences have spread through trade and cultural exchange, especially through the Silk Road, and have penetrated European societies in an 11th way. With the disintegration of the Mongol Empire, the world moved towards a new chapter of history. These changes were clearly visible from Europe to Asia, and from the east to the west of the world. Areas formerly under Mongol rule entered a new world of politics, economics, and culture, each of which had a far-reaching impact on the region's history and destiny. In India, the influence of the Mughal Empire is still clearly visible in the country's culture and history. The Mughal Indian government ushered in a golden period of cultural and economic development that is still considered one of the most important periods in Indian history. In Europe, trade and cultural exchange with the Mongol Empire spread culture and trade across the continent. The effects of these exchanges can still be seen in the language, art, and literature of Europeans and are recognized as one of the most important times in European history. In India, the Mughal state of India ruled for several centuries, and the Mongol and Indian cultures blended together. The British Empire entered India in the 18th and 19th centuries and made India one of its colonies. In Central Asia, after the breakup of the Mongol Empire, independent states such as the Russian Empire, the Ottoman Empire, and local governments generally took over the region, and a new power was formed in the region. In general, the disintegration of the Mongol Empire led to a new period in world history, the effects of which can still be seen in various societies and cultures of the world, and is recognized as one of the most important historical periods. In India, after the Mughal rule, the British Empire had a powerful presence in this region. Beginning in the mid-18th century, this government gradually expanded its power and made India one of its most powerful colonies. This era, with the expansion of colonial policies and pressure on Indian communities, increased British cultural and economic influence in this region. But with the passage of time, the fighting movements were formed in India for independence from the British rule. The independence movement started with the Swaraj movement in the 19th century and continued with leaders like Muhammad Ali Jinnah and Mahatma Gandhi, eventually leading to India's independence in 1947. In Central Asia, after the breakup of the Mongol Empire, various regions came under the hands of local governments, as well as empires such as Russia and the Ottoman Empire. These governments gradually established their power in the region and exerted their influence on local societies and cultures. Also, the partition of India in 1947 and the creation of the countries of India and Pakistan brought the need for basic measures to manage and interact between different ethnicities and religions. This process, unfortunately, was accompanied by violence and bloodshed that is still remembered in the minds of the people of India and Pakistan. After the creation of India and Pakistan, these two countries faced new challenges. The partition of India was not only bloody, but also caused deep tensions and conflicts between the two countries. These tensions also affected the security and stability of the region. In the years after independence, India and Pakistan tried to develop and empower their countries. However, setbacks and challenges such as poverty, social inequality, and territorial disputes persisted, which contributed to delaying the achievement of development goals. After the partition of India and Pakistan, tensions and conflicts between the two countries continued. Social, cultural, and political contradictions and differences caused permanent tensions between the people of India and Pakistan. In addition, border disputes and territorial disputes continued, which intensified tensions. Also, in the years after independence, India and Pakistan tried to develop and empower their countries. However, setbacks and challenges such as poverty, social inequality, and territorial disputes persisted, which contributed to delaying the achievement of development goals. Over time, India and Pakistan engaged in political and economic activities at the international level and tried to gain a stronger position on the world stage. These two countries tried to have more influence in international relations, have and play a bigger role in global issues. Efforts to resolve existing issues, effective diplomacy, and international cooperation can help the two countries achieve their common interests and seek peace and stability in the region. We hope that with the passage of time, the conflicts between India and Pakistan will decrease and the two countries will be able to achieve more prosperity and progress through constructive cooperation and interaction. However, there are still many issues in the region that require continuous solutions and international cooperation. We hope that with joint efforts, these issues can be resolved and peace and stability in the region will be guaranteed. Over time, with increased awareness and mutual understanding, some tensions have eased and avenues for cooperation between India and Pakistan have been found. Diplomatic negotiations were held to resolve common issues and strengthen economic and cultural relations between the two countries.